Poddin My Noggin, hosted by CK Sims, creating a platform to elevate, educate, and heal by creating a space where people can share their stories of struggle, triumph, and redemption. CKS Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Poddin My Noggin. We've been on a short break, but we are back and better than ever. This week, we have a really interesting guest. I'm excited to talk to them, Natasha Skolny. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. And yourself?
I am great. I'm just happy to be here, and the sun is shining, and I know it's going to be a great day, so I'm looking forward to our chat.
Wonderful. Yes, the sun is shining here as well. And so much. There's so many things. So the thing for me that kind of like stood out when you filled out the form. Everybody fills out a form if you've been watching along, and like how you listed like certain things, right? And it really resonated with me how you did that. So I want to read a couple of those things if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And anybody who's followed along with Poddin My Noggin will probably understand immediately why there was just such a like a resonation there. But like low self-confidence. So this isn't an answer to what your story is, right? So you said low self-confidence, shame related to learning disability, and fear of speaking up. So automatically those things just jive with me. And then you went on to, I don't want to read that. Here's the part that I want to read to everyone that really just kind of stood out. It was that your differences are what make you great, that your fears are deep rooted in what you believed when you were young, and that you can learn to listen to yourself again and carve your own path. Yes. I found that it gave me goosies when I read it. I've interviewed so many people who have had such wonderful messaging, but I found that this messaging was just very like on point to what this show is all about. So I'm excited. Take us back though. Like, let's go back to young Natasha and tell us about that version of you.
So if I take you back to grade school, I was in a French immersion school and my grades stunk. Like I was getting D's and like almost flunking out, and I was trying so hard. I thought, okay, if I study more in the evenings, or if I do something else where I just like write all my notes out, something will change, and nothing was actually changing. And my grade 7 teacher was the one that actually brought it up and recommended to my parents to have me tested to see if there was something else that was getting in the way. And that's when I discovered that I actually process information differently than the average person. And so what was happening in French is it was taking me almost 5 times longer to understand the information and to get it back in a different language, which was making everything so much harder for me. And so it wasn't that I wasn't able to learn, it was just I was making it really difficult to take the information in and not be able to get it out at the speed that everyone else was doing it. And so it felt like it was just taking forever. So I got shifted over into an English only school, which helped me so much. But the piece that still stood with me was in grade 7. That's a time where you want to be really, connected to your friends. You want to be the same as your friends. You want to like be included in everything. And I felt like I had this label on me that I couldn't shake, that I felt I was so different. And there were reasons why I got shifted out into a different school. And so I carried that. And even though, I excelled in school after that, and I was still, adjusting and making, like I was kind of figuring out different ways that I could study that it would actually help me and make sense. But I never told anyone about my learning disability. I actually carried it as, nope, I'm just going to work twice as hard as everyone else, study for all of my tests in the evenings. I'm going to find other strategies. I'm just going to, like, the last thing I wanted was for people to know that this was actually going on behind the scenes. Because God forbid, like, I would be different and there would be something wrong with me.
But a 7-year-old person's mind is like, that would be like in grade, not 7-year-olds, but in grade 7, like that would be like a travesty. That would be like one of the worst things that could possibly happen in your mind, right? And it's grade 7's around the time when you get that big flux of hormones and puberty and all, like, there's so much going on in grade 7.
So much is changing, yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's a really heavy time. Okay.
Yeah. And so I decided, like, the best course of action is just to not talk about it, not tell anyone about it, and pretend that I've got my shit, like, I've got everything figured out. I've got it sorted. And so I did. I kept going all the way through to university. And then I started working in a field where I was helping people in an organization. I went into HR and I wanted to support people and just be the best version of them. And that led me into building training programs. And when I started actually building learning programs, I started doing them in a way where I had to put myself in everyone else's shoes on what their learning styles are. And as soon as I started putting myself in there, which felt so easy for me to do, because I was like, well, these are the people that are going to gravitate towards these questions. And these people are going to need to make the connection over here because that's what's going to click for them. And these are the people that are going to take a bit longer for them to process. So here's the questions that need to get pulled out for them to learn. And it made me go, wait a minute, how is this so easy for me? Why is it that I can consider so many different learning styles into how I approach building programs? Which was when I connected the dots and I started realizing, wait a minute, there's things that I actually have power over because I've learned along the way what matters to people. And that became really important to me. That became my why. And I started to get so curious and so invested in making sure I was building programs that helped bring that out and bring the learning out, because I was so committed to everyone having such a meaningful experience.
So it's really interesting too, because the first thing that came up when you were talking about, when you just mentioned, like, how was it so easy for you? My first response to that was because you've been living in these other areas, pretending your whole life. Yeah. And so that's why it's easy for you to, like, be like, oh, but this person's going to need this and this person's going to need that. What a weight to bear, though, in grade 7, like that sort of shame that you would have internalized, right? Because now I'm sure that the shame's no longer there, but it was probably very much there in grade 7. And, like, I think back to my grade 7, and also a very life-altering time for me. But I mean, French immersion. Are you in Canada?
I am, yeah.
Oh, where? What part?
I am just north of Toronto now.
Barrie?
Yeah.
I lived in Barrie for, oh my gosh, 8 years?
No way.
Yeah, I love Barrie.
Oh
my, I get sidetracked. But then you probably know, have you ever had the green mango tree?
No, you know what? We've only been here for the last year, so we'll have to trade notes on good places to go.
Pad Thai. Anyway, we're gonna come back. I'm in Montreal, so we're both Canadian. Yeah, so like I remember grade 7, brutal. So you pretended, of course, you said you played the part throughout university. Did you find like, was it still struggle? Like, was there such a struggle throughout all of those stages? I mean, you go from high school, then university, like, how was that?
I would say, like, and I didn't realize this when I was in it, because I think when you're in it, you just figure out a way to manage and you believe, like, this just is the way. But about 5 years ago, when I got so curious about coaching in general and self-development. And I went on my own journey of, why am I here? What is the point of my existence? Like, there has to be something like really important for me to do in this world. What is that? And what is getting in my way? And it wasn't until I started making decisions and making choices in my life that allowed me to lean into more of the things that I felt really good and passionate about, and designed my life in a way that I could show up in such a great way that aligned to my purpose. When I realized, wow, I was so out of alignment before. Like, I didn't actually realize, because I just dealt with it. But now that I'm out of it, I can look back and I can see there was so much there that I was holding on to, that I had this armor up, this shell of like protection that I didn't realize I had.
I love this, because I think I always refer to that as healing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, because healing's a journey. And so you would have realized. So do you think that moment when you were developing those programs and you were like, wait, how do I know all these things? Do you think that was the catalyst for your growth, like that transformation that you went under to who you've become today?
I would say one of the biggest catalysts was when I was in an HR role and I got asked to facilitate some training to a whole bunch of senior leaders. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm not a senior leader. How am I supposed to do this? And I got up and I talked to them about how to hire really great talent. And they were asking me questions that I had no idea the answer to. And so I thought I was like failing them. And really, I decided to just shift things around and have conversations with them. So I took the question back and I asked them, and I pulled out more of the information in the session, and I left going, I don't know if I actually did anything, because all I did was have a conversation with them and support them. And I came back to my office, and this was like one of my first HR roles out of university. And so I was pretty green. And I had a voicemail from my leader at the time, and I was like, uh-oh, she's going to give me some crummy feedback. And she said, Natasha, I just want to leave you this voicemail before you go home today, because how you facilitated the session was at an expert level. I don't see this from other facilitators, and I want you to know how strong of a facilitator you are. And I was like, what? And so it was in the moment of someone else who I highly respected giving me feedback on something that I didn't know I had such a skill in, tell me how great I am, that made me go, wait a minute. That felt really easy. And she's telling me I'm really good at it. Okay, I'm onto something here.
I love that story. I love it so much. There's a lot of parallels that I'm experiencing as you're talking, right? I want to pause for a second, because I think it's so important when you are, whatever role you're in, if you see someone doing a good job, tell them, because you don't know what the impact of just leaving that voicemail or sending that Teams message is going to do, and how that could truly change somebody's life, right? And one thing that comes up, because I'm a transformation consultant, so I work for businesses and we go through transformations, project management, change management, all of those things. That's my day job, if you will. And one of the things that always baffles me, and I love what you did, I love that on the spot you were like, I'm just going to have a conversation. Everybody puts all of these invisible layers between themselves and senior leadership. What they often forget is that senior leadership are just people, just like you and me. They might have a higher paying title, that's fine, but they're still just human beings. So people will respect that you can hold a conversation, admit that, hey, I don't have the answer to that right now, but I'm going to write this down. I'm going to take it away, and I'm going to get back to you. You don't have to know everything. I just thought that's a whole business side talk, which maybe we'll get into in the second half. So you had this experience at your corporate job in HR.
Yeah.
You must have been like elated on cloud nine, like, because that's really extraordinary feedback. And so what next? What was that shift then? Like you just
I decided I would go back to school and learn how to properly create programs in a structured way. I would get more skills facilitating. I would build my toolbox with all of these things that are going to help me focus on how to own the classroom. HR became an aside, something that I wasn't even as interested in. And I went full speed into learning and organizational development. And the confidence kept getting built as I kept putting myself out there and kept doing the things that were kind of scary and I was kind of nervous about. But every step I took, it was like, that wasn't actually so bad. Okay, what's the next thing? Why am I putting up these my barriers that are self-induced fears that are getting in my way? And I kept going and I kept going. And so it took me from starting in HR to where I'm at today, which is having led a leadership team towards facilitating high performance leadership programming across organizations. I have started my own business, so now I am actually facilitating to a number of different organizations and partnering with people who want to continue to aspire and be the best versions of them. And I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to help people define their own version of success because it doesn't fit into a box. It doesn't necessarily have to be the job description that you walked into. It's like figuring out where your strengths are, where your magic is, and creating something that feels so aligned to you so that you can properly do what you do best and be a great leader.
I love this so much. So you just said something that's very much lined up with the whole purpose of this show. It's so bang on. On any of the sites that I have where people can book, like to come on the show, I want people who have gone through adversity and have come out the other end defining their own version of success. Because success is different for everybody, right?
Yes.
And people have like this skewed version that success is that you're super wealthy, living in the house on the hill, and blah 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 blah. Someone's version of success could just be in a studio apartment with heat, right? These are the things that we have to remember for people. Everybody's version is different. One of the things too that you just said is that it's so powerful because it's something to remember, and I want people to take away is that you kept putting yourself out there, and after every single time you put yourself out there, you were like, that wasn't such a big deal. And you were building, in essence, your resiliency toolkit. Like that is exactly what you, and it makes me all revved up because I think, I've looked back so many times in this conversation, I pop back into my own life and I'm like, when I first started out in corporate, I was terrified to speak up, like terrified. And I was going to these meetings with all of these like peer leaders and then senior leaderships. And there was no chance in that I was going to ask a question. I was going to sit quietly and take notes. And then over time, I realized, well, not over time, I realized if I want to thrive in this environment, I need to put myself in the arena. Brene Brown, I love that woman. And so I did. And so now, if I'm public speaking or like in a group with peers, you might, if you're watching, you might see beads of sweat still form on my forehead, and you might see a slight tremor in my hand and a slight shake in my voice, but I still do it because you can't let fear stand in the way of doing things. We are going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to actually talk about what Natasha does in a cabin. We'll be back, everybody.
Partner today with CK Sims and Poddin My Noggin to get in front of an audience that cares. You will be supporting mental health stories, tales of resilience, and uplifting content, aligning your brand with bringing goodness, authenticity, and kindness front and center. This spot could be yours. Do you have a story of struggle and resilience? One that you want to share with others and possibly help someone through their own struggles? Find the link in the show description and fill out the guest form today.
Welcome back, everybody. Before the break, we have been talking to Natasha Skolny, who has told us about her experiences growing up, being in French immersion, and struggling with a learning disability, and then that very struggle that she had in grade 7 has led so much to how she has shaped this version of her life. So I said we were going to talk about what Natasha does in a cabin. Tell us what you do in a cabin, Natasha.
This is such an interesting one for me because it was about 2 years ago when I was literally sitting on my dock. I love watching sunrises. There's just so much peace in watching the sun pop up out of the sky. And the lake was super flat. And I felt to my core so peaceful, so calm, so much in my own skin that I realized I need to create these moments. What if I could create moments like this for people to be in this state of calmness so that they can show up as their true selves? Because I think about my own experience. I think about the armor that I wore. I think about the labels of being a perfectionist or wanting to get things right. But when I'm at the lake and I'm sitting on a dock and I'm having casual conversations and I'm just connecting back to myself, that's when the beauty comes out. That's when I get to create things. That's when I start to build and I have my best ideas. And so the name, the Leadership Cabin, actually came from that place so that I could embody, I really wanted people to experience coming back to themselves. And that's where the true authenticity and leadership and their own version of success shows up. And what I do at the cabin, I mean, I chill out. I enjoy a good book. I go for walks in the trails. I paddleboard. I have 2 little kiddos at home, so we're jumping on these floating pads. What are they called? I can't remember the name of it, but it's essentially foam that you just jump on and jump into the water. But it's a blast. I have a great time there.
It sounds wonderful. So question, this Leadership Cabin, which everybody can go to www.theleadershipcabin.com, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make sure before. I'll link it in the description as well. So there's so much in this website. So make sure you go check it out. Like there's so many things that you can do. My first question is, do you do any retreats in cabins?
So I haven't yet. That is in my vision. And that is something that will come to fruition at some point, but not quite yet. So right now I offer keynotes and speaking series for people who are doing retreats. And I'm just getting connected with a few people to do corporate retreats right now, which is super exciting.
Well, and that whole world is hard to tap into, but once you get going, like it can take you a lot of places. So it's really that resiliency and utilizing everything that's in your toolkit already to do it, right? Now, the other thing is your focus, which I am all about first and foremost. So your focus is on women.
Yeah.
Specifically. And so let's talk about that, because this is one of my favorite topics, right? So when we have I could read to you the things on your website that spoke to me, right, and fired up the feminist inside me. But I want to talk to you about like what was the vision and what brought you there.
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, that's been my experience too. So I find it's easy for me to connect the dots for other women because I've had a lot of similar experiences from that sense. Um, but also, a lot of the organizations that I've worked in have been male dominated experiences or male dominated work environments. And all of the women that I would partner with or work with and coach felt like they were embodying having to work like a man or think like a man in order to move up in the organization. And it honestly made me feel like there's just something missing here, that if a woman cannot show up as her authentic self in the workplace and have that define her success, then she's never going to feel good in her own skin. And so, what is it that I could do, that I could offer and help these women unpack for themselves and overcome and define their own version of success so that they can feel really great when they are successful? I mean, that just fills my cup. So that's where it came from.
Well, and it's interesting too, because like I've worked in a lot of places, and I worked for, not for, but with a lot of sort of organizations. They're primarily male dominated, which in this particular day and age, apart from what's happening in the US at this moment, but like that should not be the case. I will literally, and this is how I feel about it. I've been fortunate to have a lot of really strong, resilient, and powerful women as leaders in my lifetime. And I think there was one point where, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I was in a role, and the next 7 levels were all women. And like, I was like,
Wow.
just like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, so like for me, and I think what the other thing is, I'm just going to shout out Culture Ally, who's an organization in Canada, but they're run by women as well. And I'm like, you will give me an organization, I will take a cut and pay and come work with you if you are all ran by women. Like, if you let me just support you and be there and champion and do whatever, I will work for a woman any day. Like that's just how it is. I've had some good male leaders as well, but never the same kind of relationship, right? And I find with me, a woman leader, they can do it all. Like, but they don't lose the what's the word I'm looking for? There's still a nurturing component in like really spicy leadership, if you will. Like, I've worked with some strong women, but they're still kind. Whereas men tend to be very disconnected, very bravada, very showy, like got to keep it like, like, I mean, anyway, I could talk for hours. So you sorry.
I know what you're talking about, though. Like, you're talking about kind of the human factor, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, it's not all men, but there's this mentality around like getting things done and burning yourself out along the way, because more and accomplishing more in a day is better. And we've just become super accustomed to, that's how we get success. We have to work hard. We have to work all the hours of the day. We have to not spend time at home and connect with the people around us. That if we want to get to the top, that's not how we do it. And then throw in, like, we have children and start a family, and throw in, wait, there's other things that we want to do in our lives too. And suddenly we can't keep up with that same mentality of doing all of that. So what happens is we all end up getting burnt out in some way. And then throw on, how do we support everyone with mental health and with like resources when we're not actually solving the root cause of what is happening? And so I think it's this this shift that I feel is happening across the world right now, where people are starting to lift up their blinders and go, wait a minute, there's something else here. If we can change a way on how we get work done, then maybe we can shift how things are. So
there is a shift, and you can feel it in corporates, in the organizations. People are not sitting down for the same old anymore, right? Like, people are pushing back. They're starting to define their versions of how they want to work, not how they're going to, thank you so much for this job and I'll do whatever you want me to do type thing. No, there's boundary and expectations on both sides. And employers are now being held to a higher regard of
yes.
like, so there's a shift. Now, it's very mucky in this moment. The economy in this moment is brutal, but I do have to hope and pray that that gets better, right? But so if somebody were to come see Natasha, like if somebody were to go to the leadership cabin, okay, and say they wanted some leadership coaching and to help them just find that balance or step in their true authentic self, how would that?
Yeah, great question. I have a few different avenues that I bring people into my community. And I created a virtual networking group called the Leadership Circle. And this is a place for people to just show up and bring where they're feeling stuck, where they're getting challenged, and know that they've got a supportive community who's going to help not just like brainstorm ideas and solutions, but hear them out and know that they're not alone, and know that they've got a supportive group of people who they can lean on when they're running into these types of things. So that first, it's a free resource that I offer, that I bring this community together, because I think that's so important. And that's been something that has helped me tremendously, just being surrounded by people who really cheer you on and help you grow and are looking for the best in you. The other thing I would do is talk about, well, where are you getting stuck? What is it that you're really getting challenged with, and where do you want to go? I've done so much work with vision boards and vision workshops that I love playing in the space of, if you had a magic wand and could dream about what you want your reality to look like, what would that look like? And that at least helps to kind of go, okay, well, what's not working right now? And what do you want it to look like that? And what are some steps? And then we come up with a really solid plan on how to support this person going forward. It either looks like one-on-one coaching, or it looks like attending some workshops that are going to give them extra tools in their backpack so that they can continue growing as well. And then if I have leaders who have teams where they're saying, I actually have a team underneath me that they're not working well together, they're not talking to each other, they're working in silos, there's conflict all the time, then I facilitate those discussions. I facilitate those group sessions. And then I support the leader so that they can truly step into what they're meant to do. And then we just take it from there.
I love this. I think that's really, really cool. And people can just head over, if I'm not wrong, and book you on your website?
Yeah, so they can check me out on my website. You can book straight from my website a meeting with me as well. So there's a Calendly link right in there.
I knew I saw it, but I couldn't find it right away when I was scrolling. So I was like, they can, right?
Yeah, they absolutely can. I am also pretty active on Instagram. So if you're ever wanting to know what I'm up to, I'm pretty much on there and giving you little tips along the way as well. So definitely follow.
So what is next for you and the Leadership Cabin? Because I know you do public speaking engagements and things like that as well. So
I do. You know what? There's so much that 2025 and leading into 2026 is about taking up space for me. And I'm going to do that by being on podcasts, talking to great people like you. You're going to see me on stages as well. And I'm going to be serving up a lot more of my vision workshops, because I think that is also so needed across the board. And I would say my biggest thing is in the corporate world, it's about making the connection for people on the spirituality side of wellness and taking action, because those combinations together is what gets the results. And the spirituality wellness side, I mean, my involvement in breath work and cold exposure and meditations, all of those pieces are such great tools that can get incorporated into corporate environments, that my goal is to start bridging that.
The need is there, right? Like, I feel like people could benefit so much from every level of corporate work with these types of workshops that are very focused on self-improvement, but also like pausing, breath work, as you had mentioned, learning how to set balances, and learning how to, sorry, my puppy's like right here at this moment, wanting attention. Learning how to set boundaries, and like just kind of stepping into their own. I hope that happens. And I love the idea of vision workshops. So are these virtual?
I do them virtual and live in person. I am someone who adores being in person with people. There's just something about the energy. Virtual is so helpful for people who are in different locations and gets people actively involved. But vision workshops, I had led senior leaders, help to kind of define what their visions are. I work to create strategic planning sessions for them. But what I wasn't connecting up until a couple of years ago was how to engage the right side of your brain when you are building these visions for yourself. And so everything that I have done up until today has been, how do I help leaders actually picture where they're going and tap into dreaming further down the road than where they're used to, and putting something together that's going to allow them to anchor down on where they're going and their why and what's important to them. That's actually going to get them results, because they'll start making decisions that will align to where they're going. And the vision board piece has been such a powerful way of being able to bring that out in people.
So the vision board, I have not ever done one, which is really weird for me to say out loud and to realize, because I think I'm so pro like manifestation, visualization of what it is that we want, get her done, like making those steps and all of those things. I'm obviously, you show how to do that in your workshops. And is it actually a board?
Yes.
Like when people say it, it's like actually a board with things pinned to it that define. And is there a strategic way to go about setting it up?
Absolutely. And I will give a shout out to the woman who trained me, because she is such an expert in this area. Her name's Debbie Sluice. She has been doing this for years, and I wanted to get taught by her. I was like, how do I bring this side of what I already know about vision to the creative side of being able to map it out on a board? And let me tell you, the day that I spent to go through to get to my final result of my vision board, I look at my vision board now and it brings me to tears with how connected I am to everything that's in there. And that is the piece. Like, I look at it every day. There is methodology behind how to do it and what questions to ask to pull out the conversation and the thought process, and even how the board looks. There's so much science in what happens in our brain when we associate to different colors and what that meaning gives us. It's fascinating. But if you want something that can literally look at you every day and inspire you to get you where you want to get to, I mean, 100%. Vision board is the way to go.
Okay, so the next question is, do you have an upcoming virtual vision workshop?
So I have a mini version of a workshop that I'm doing. The date is now, it's in October, and now I can't remember the exact date, but it is on my website under the events. And this one is actually in partnership with someone who is creating goals as well. So I'm going to be doing the vision part in the first hour. She's going to be tackling goal setting, and it's going to be a taste of what a vision board experience would be like.
Okay.
And the next one has not yet been planned, but it will.
Okay, so I really want the next one. I want the full vision board experience. Yeah. And so it is the date of the one, Carve Your Path Vision Board Workshop, is Friday, October 3rd, 2025. Of course, from 9:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is Eastern Standard Time, just for everybody listening. If you want to attend,
yeah,
it's virtual, correct?
This one is in person.
Oh, so it's located in Barrie?
It is, yeah.
Oh my
So if you
gosh,
feel like coming back to your hometown, you know.
Not my hometown, but a town I lived in, absolutely. But but I'm very interested. I think I'm going to keep an eye out for like a virtual vision board workshop. And if you let me know in advance, I'll also like put it out in a podcast, like this is what we're doing on this date. Let's all go and do it. Because I'm very interested in learning that. And for anybody else, listen, theleadershipcabin.com, full of resources. Get in touch with Natasha. She will help you step into your authentic self and so much more. Corporate people out there, come on, like, just look her up, get her in. Like, let's make it happen. And keep an eye out. You're on Instagram. I will link that into the description as well. And thank you so much for being a guest on Poddin My Noggin.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. And for everyone else out there, until next time, get out there and live your wildest dream.
For media and sponsorship inquiries, email info@cksims.com or visit cksims.com and fill out the contact form. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode airs every Saturday. CKS Media.